Touchdown! And the extra point is good as the New Jersey Devils beat the San Jose Sharks 7-2 last night in San Jose. Did I stay up for that game? No, not at all. But I did just watch it this morning on a replay from start to finish. So I was able to catch all the little intricacies that you are not going to find on the highlights. In my opinion, if you woke up and saw 7-2 and thought that we dominated this game, well, we didn't really. I felt like the Sharks were probably the better team through the first two periods. There were some stretches where we were definitely better and I thought had some really great chances at scoring. And clearly we did do some of that, but that was more so towards the tail end of the game where we definitely took over in the third period. Not going to say we didn't. But that first, and especially second, well, I'd say especially the first and a little bit in the second, it was not our best hockey. It was pretty back and forth through the first. I did feel like the Sharks had been better the 5-on-5 play. Our first power play was really good, like insanely good. Like, I have no idea how we didn't score good, but we didn't score. Blackwood made some phenomenal saves. And really, you could maybe argue the turning point was Blackwood coming out and Kokkonen coming in, because he didn't really face any shots at the end of the first and early on in the second. But once we did start peppering him a little bit, he had some leaky goals. But we'll talk about all of those, all seven, here in a moment. Outside of that really, really good power play, the first one, our second power play was nowhere near as good as the first, even though it scored but didn't, as we did have a great setup over to Timo Meier, who I thought had what would have been arguably his best goal of the season. A very good against the grain, far side, just inside the post, just outside of the goalie's arm, for a goal that was called back on an offsides by Alexander Holtz. Holtz also took a penalty in this one. There's also some other plays I wasn't happy with Holtz with, and I was actually ready to kind of tear into him a little bit in this video, but since I watched this in the morning and I didn't feel rushed to get this done, late into the night as I've been doing, I watched the post-game presser, and turns out Holtz was really sick, like really, really sick in this one. And I think if we weren't already going 11-7, possibly would have sat out of this one. So Ruff definitely gave him a lot of leash, saying that Holtz really fought through. Sounded like he was really sick. So credit to Holtz on that one. It was not your best game, and I would say maybe that showed a bit that he was not feeling well, but I will give him a pass in that case because, well, we won, and so no harm, no foul. Now, back to the first period. Again, outside of that first power play, 5-on-5, I felt like Sharks had the better of the chances early. We kind of took some chances back after that first power play with a little bit of momentum following it. But then closing out the period, I felt like the Sharks once again had the better of the chances, which included the first goal of the game, of course, scored against us, as, in my opinion, it was really on the captain, Nico Hischier. Now, he made up for this in spades throughout the rest of the game, but that first goal, I do got to put on him a little bit. Ball was breaking out for a rush the other way, what would have been an odd man rush, and Nico goes for the exit pass out and shoots it right into Ball's back. Now, yeah, that is a massive back to avoid, but nevertheless, shoots it into Ball, which Ball got a bit of a stinger out of it as he did fall to the ice and pain a bit. And Sharks picked the puck right back up. They now had the odd man chance coming back against us with Nico acting as a defenseman, which normally you'd feel pretty good about, but we get beat on the play, Dawes gets beat, and it is 1-0. I felt like Dawes actually had a pretty strong first period and had a really strong second period. If not for a Dawes save there fairly early on in the second, we probably are talking about a very different game, as 2-0 is very different than 1-0, because in that run of play afterwards is what led to essentially the two breakout goals in a row. Obviously, the first one more so than the second, but Timo does a great job coming back on a back check, winds the puck around the boards, which finds its way over to Bratt with the give and go with Timo. Beautiful backhand pass from Timo for the breakaway finisher from Bratt. Bratt and Timo, I thought, had some very strong games. Timo, for sure, even with the goal that was called back against him, I felt like he had a strong game. Bratt should have had another goal in this game, should have gave the captain a 5-point night, but he completely somehow whiffed. I didn't see any replays on it, but Nico gave him a dime of a pass, and Bratt whiffed on a completely open back door tap in. It would have been just, I think it would have been like at that time the 5th or 6th goal. So it really didn't make much of a difference, but Would have been nice for the captain and Brad, of course, to get another couple points on the board. But nevertheless, they had quite a few already anyway. Very shortly after the Brat breakaway. Now, again, in the second period, I felt like Sharks were the better team. It really was. We had the one Brat and Timo break, 2-on-1 breakaway, which led to the goal. And then we had Jack Hughes with the beautiful read at the blue line to poke a puck away and get a clean breakaway just by himself. And he finishes it. A nice little pass 5-hole into the back of the net. 2-1 Devils off of that. And really, I felt like that was the majority of our offense there in the second. Had the called back power play goal. Didn't generate too much after they kind of reset the clock going back from the offsides. And I felt like the Sharks had a better run of play. They just got stonewalled by Nico Daws, which is something we really need to happen. If this was maybe a higher offense, a more elite team, this could have been a much uglier game through two periods. I kind of reference it as an inverse of the Tampa game, where Kucherov kind of broke our backs in that one off of just some elite plays, where in this one, that did not happen. And in that game, I felt like we were the better team through the first two and then kind of trailed off in the third. In this game, I felt like the Sharks were arguably the better team through the first two. Now, they didn't dominate us by any means. It was actually fairly close through the first. I do think they should have probably taken a lead in the second and ran away with it a little bit, but we kept it close thanks to Daws and thanks to our elite players in Brat, Timo in this case, and Jack, even Nico. And so we get into that third period and we just ran away with it. We had, let's see, what was the rest of our goals? It was, the third goal was Kevin Ball off of a beautiful pass by Nico. We had the Miller blue line shot and then the Smith blue line shot. Ball the least of these three, but arguably all three of those could have been saves by Kapanen. From there, it was the so that would have been 3. That would have put us at 5-1. The sixth goal was Mercer off of a feed by Jack. One-timer right in the slot there. I don't really put that on the goalie, just a beautiful setup and shot. And then the seventh goal by captain Nico Hischier to get the extra point and really seal this one away. Not too much else to say in there in the third period. I felt like we played a very strong game. Yeah, they did get the final goal, but it was a deflection off of their player, deflection off of Smith, and then did go into Dawes' legs and deflect it off of there into the net. It's, that's going to happen. 2 goals against. I'm not really upset at the defensive play that set up any other stuff there. So all in all, great third period. Did the power play score? No, but that first one was elite stuff by the first unit for the full 2 minutes. It just didn't find the back of the net. And maybe we got a little lucky with Blackwood having some random injury. I couldn't quite tell what it was off of the few replays they did show. But maybe we got lucky with a cold goalie coming in, and we took advantage of it, which we needed to do. The boys now actually get a couple days rest, which should be fantastic. It's one of those, would it have been nice to get right into the next game pretty much after rolling like this? Yeah, with the boys feeling good. But a couple days rest, I think, will be nice. Get into Anaheim, and this is another game where we need these 2 points. And then heading into LA, another 2 points that we need because the Penguins won last night. The Flyers won last night. Capitals did lose, but that was the Red Wings winning. The wild cards, Tampa lost. So I'd say Detroit's kind of running away with it a bit here, and their play has been phenomenal. So I don't expect us to catch them. The Lightning are still very much in play for being caught. If we would have beat them, it would have been very, very much in play. But as I've been saying for weeks and weeks now, third Metro spot, passing the Flyers, is going to be the path into the playoffs. So, yeah, that's going to do it. The third line I was not impressed with. I'm going to go, player by player, line by line here. I'll start at the top, I guess. Nico, Brat, Timo, love the line. Keep it going. Great play, start to finish, basically all game. The Jack line with Palat and Lazar was actually quite good. Jack doing the run of the work there. Obviously, his breakaway goal was not too much to do with the rest of his line. But I did like Lazar and Palat's plays along the board, transition out of the D zone and stuff like that, and letting Jack kind of do his thing. Were they elite electric at 5-on-5 for most of the game? No, but Jack had a lot of shots and a lot of chances generated off of the other two. It's just more so if Jack would have had even more finishing than he did. He did have a setup to Mercer, but that was really more the 11 forwards and line juggling stuff that allowed that to happen. I didn't hate it. The third line, I wasn't super impressed with it. Holla, Mercer, and Toffoli. They had some chances, but for the most part, I feel like Sharks kind of took advantage of them. And then the fourth line, with it just being Tierney Holtz, Already talked about Holtz being sick as a dog in this one, and Tierney's just Tierney, so they're always rotating different players and stuff, so I don't really have too much criticism there either, as I don't think they were on ice for either of the goals against, so not going to be too harsh on them. Defensive pairings, I actually was pretty good with them. Now, there was 7 defensemen, so they were rolling a lot of different stuff, but hey, what was it? Half of our defense really getting on the board, or almost half, I guess, with Ball, Miller, and Smith all getting goals. So yeah, not really going to complain too much there. And as I said, Nico Daws really kept us in this one in the second period and was great in the first as well. So very happy across the board with the team. Let's keep it rolling against an Anaheim team that should be very similar to this one, with not having quite the elite talent to be able to keep up with us. Get a good goaltending performance, should be another 2 points. So we got 2 days off, then a 10 o'clock game on Friday. It is heading into the weekend, but Saturday's my morning with the kids, so probably I'm not going to stay up very late. So probably will definitely catch that one on replay in the morning yet again, and then kind of react like this. So as we head into that one, feel good, enjoy this one. Did I rip the team? No, I didn't rip the team, but feel great about a 7-2 win. But no, it wasn't that dominant of one, really. But doesn't really matter. Devils get the win, get the 2 points, and that's it. Does on ice play at this point, trying to critique each of the things. I'm still going to do it through all 82 regular seasons games, regardless. But it's just getting the 2 points at the end of the day that really matters. So as always, and forever, let's go Devils.